This is the latest edition of Front Up, and I'm Whitey Willauer, and I'd like to introduce a great guest today, Dr. Margot Hartman. Did I get that right?
Thank you, you did.
And you are president of the...
I'm the president and CEO of Nantucket Cottage Hospital.
That's a pretty big job, isn't it?
It keeps me busy.
Yeah. How many employees do you have?
We have about 220 some odd employees, about 160 some odd FTEs, so not everybody's full-time.
Okay.
But we are a great team doing very important work.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times spending the night, and they do a wonderful, wonderful job.
Good.
Now, where is the hospital headed now? What are your plans for the future?
You know, it's a really exciting time for the hospital because obviously we're celebrating our centennial. Mm-hmm. And I like to think 100 years ago people were coming together to talk about what kind of hospital they needed and how to resource it. And we're doing that now. We're at a real transition point in healthcare in general in the United States and specifically here on the island. And so it's an exciting time to be thinking about what the hospital should be in order to sustain itself for its next 100 years.
Because I remember being in the Nantucket Cottage Hospital, you know, in your 5 little buildings or something like that.
On Westchester Street.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And obviously that was the response for how to provide health care then, you know, in 1911 and 12 and 13. And then in the 50s, you know, visionary people came together and realized that the delivery of healthcare had changed and the islanders and the community deserved an up-to-date facility, and we've had that. And now we're at another crossroads for ourselves.
Now, what kind of crossroads are you talking about?
I'm talking about a business and paradigm and quality delivery crossroads and the building that reflects that. So we've always provided wonderful quality care to Nantucketers in probably 30 miles out at sea.
Mm-hmm.
We're a lot of hospital for the size of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be.
Are you too big?
We are not too big.
I mean, as far as the facility is concerned.
You know, actually, we don't even meet current DPH standards for sizes of things like rooms. We probably need to be redesigned to reflect how healthcare is delivered now, not so much in the inpatient, more in the outpatient and day surgery kinds of ways of delivering care. We probably need to, we know we can improve our primary care delivery, both how we deliver it and the space in which we deliver it. So we have a lot of exciting ideas about co-locating spaces so that staff are closer together, say in the off shifts when you have somebody over in the labor and deliveries, people manning the emergency department, and also people up in the med-surg. If we could co-locate them, they could support each other both clinically and in terms of personal security.
So you're going to need a designer to come in and say, okay, how do you best put this together?
What should this wonderful building look like that serves healthcare delivery and is healthy to work in and is efficient to run, both in terms of energy but also in terms of workflows? It's an exciting, it's a very exciting prospect.
Now, do you have too many rooms, I mean bedrooms upstairs, or what do you call them?
Inpatient rooms?
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there too many?
We have 19 beds, and we may have a few too many. We have some that swing. That means we can do inpatient rehab. They're not all pure inpatient acute care rooms. But one thing we know is we have to be more than an urgent care and a helipad. That is not what this community needs. And in order to sustain the sophistication and remoteness of life on this magic island, we need more than an urgent care and a helipad. We need a year-round hospital, acute care hospital, to serve a year-round community.
So you would probably send less people up to MGH in the helicopter, or is that where you're headed?
We would like to move to increasing the services that we offer appropriately. So one of the best things that I learned here when I first came in '99 was from Tim Lepre, and it's true. It's absolutely true. We need to be very clear about what we should be doing out here and do that very, very well, and just as clear about what we shouldn't be doing, and then make the relationships off island to get our patients the care they need.
And how about the visiting doctors? You have quite a few.
We do. We have a wonderful cadre of visiting subspecialists, and they support us in between the times they're here by taking phone calls and talking about cases and taking care of our patients.
Well, I was talking more about the doctors that come over, like a cardiologist and the dermatologist and things like that.
Sure.
Yeah, they take patients here.
Yes, and we're increasing that. I think of those as our subspecialist clinic docs.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got to get the lingo down.
I know. Sorry about the falling into the lingo. So we're increasing that. We have neurology that's just started again. We're increasing our dermatology here, and that actually leads me to a nice point, which is the way of delivering more and more subspecialist care here. The clinic docs that come over is going to be telemedicine. That's the way to do that in the future.
Well, you're doing a lot of that now anyway.
We're doing some.
Well, your x-rays and things like that, don't
Well,
they?
you're right. We can take a picture that's a so-called x-ray or radiograph and change it into digital information and send it up to Mass General and have someone read it who's specialized in that particular kind of x-ray, if you like, or that particular study. And then what can also happen is, since it's harder and harder and perhaps not the greenest way to bring care to the island, for people to travel here just for a day to do a clinic in, say, rheumatology or pulmonology, we can, in real time, have somebody sitting in front of a TV, like you and I are, but you're the doctor and you're in Boston, and you're looking at me, the patient, on a TV, and I'm looking at you, the doctor, on a TV, and you have a nurse practitioner, or I have a nurse practitioner right by me, who helps the doctor examine me.
Okay.
And then makes a diagnosis.
There's sort of a robotic type of...
It's a little bit robotic. We use high-definition cameras that can actually, for instance, look at the skin in more detail than I could with the naked eye as a clinician. And then the nurse could do a biopsy if that were necessary. These are specialized nurse practitioners who are trained. Or we could do the biopsy here. Tim Lepre could do that, or one of the primary care physicians could do that. And then the doctor in Boston could order in one of our pharmacies a medication to treat that patient, and that could all happen without the patient ever having to leave the island.
Yeah, I noticed when they take blood or something like that, the turnaround time seems quite good.
Good, yeah. We're working very hard on making sure that our infrastructure and our workflows are as good as they can be. And that includes radiology and lab and our ultrasound. We're doing more and more radiology procedures that we should do. We have our new contract with the Mass General Hospital Radiology.
That's right. I had x-rays the other day, and I think they were read in Boston, if I'm not mistaken, but we got a fast turnaround on that. And then you get your MRIs. They bring that big truck down here.
Yeah, we've got the MRI truck that lives here all the time now. It used to come over on the ferry when the tide was right, kind of thing, but now it's here.
Yeah, I noticed it didn't move out.
It's here, and we can staff it increasingly, so we are able to do studies and get them read in short order.
Now, what are you doing about housing of employees?
It's always a conundrum here, and it's certainly one of the challenges for the hospital. And the hospital has some of its own housing that we assign as needed to either visiting specialists or the ER docs that come for the summer. And we're constantly figuring out how to manage that, as I know the town and everybody is.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people who come up and say, I've got a rental house, I have somebody available. It's quite a good tenant.
And good tenants. And we have actually a way of identifying who has rental properties available to staff of the hospital, and then we make those properties known if people are looking.
Okay, now the sticky question is, what about the economics? I know you've had a loss, and you describe how you look at the loss and how you improve it.
Great question, thank you. I think of it in three. The storm that hit is decreased volume, so the economy island for whatever job there were. Decreased reimbursement. The insurers are getting better and better and better at not paying us. And third, our beautiful and wonderful building is nonetheless aging and falling apart and asking more and more of us in terms of resources every day. I will say that it's safe and the bricks and mortar are stable, but for instance, our infrastructure, our plumbing, our drainage, and our electricity, our windows, our roof, all of these kinds of things are going to need increasing attention from us.
Oh yeah.
And the question becomes, do we put, hard-earned money into keeping this 1957 building going, or do we really would the community be better served and the money be better used in a new building?
That's what I asked you in the beginning.
Yeah.
But you didn't tell me about the fact that you're going to rewamp your building. Now, you're going to keep the same location, or you're going to have to get a different location to do what you're thinking about?
So we know that we can build on our current site.
Right.
And we'll have to relocate some things temporarily while we do that, but we can still be in our existing building while a new building is being built.
That's a hot transfer.
We have that. Is that what we call that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you keep serving your clients while you're over here, and you don't stop for a second to do that. Would you end up in a different location, or?
It will be, the building as we currently have the vision for it will be on our current site in a different location.
Okay.
Probably behind the existing building.
Out where the founders.
Back in that, back in that area.
Yeah.
And we would be able to work in our current building and keep it going for, say, the 5 years that it may take us to build a new hospital while building the new hospital. And then we would transition into the new building.
Okay, so it's a hot transfer. I did this for the Strategic Air Command once. We did they're shut down, we had to defend the country. Well, you have to defend your clients.
Okay.
And make sure you didn't miss a beat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, what about the people that aren't able to afford to pay? Well, is that a big problem with you?
It's always an issue in medicine. It's an issue in medicine everywhere. I will say that our bad debt and self-pay, if you like, and free care as a proportion of our total business has not increased in the last 15 years. So we are able with healthcare advocates to try and move people into whatever insurance products may be available to them, and we work very hard to make sure that people can get whatever coverage is available to them. And we would never turn anyone away.
No.
We ask them to be partners with us in their health care, but we would never turn anyone away.
What about a clinic? I mean, you've got the people going to ER if they've cut their finger or something like that. Is a clinic a possibility?
That is a great point. I know that we can do a better job of offering primary care to the community, both the seasonal and the visiting community as well as the year-round community. And one of the ways we can do that is by expanding primary care so that it has a clinic function. And so there's one place you go, and that person owns your problem, whether it's a 50-cent problem or a $5 problem, or whether you just want to know which one it is. So you come in and you don't have to go down the yellow pages and figure out who's taking new patients, and you don't have to go to the emergency department. I'm committed to reworking that system. Over the next few months we have some pretty ambitious plans, and I think you'll see some changes come May.
Good, good. Now, what about your relationship with our Island Home? Where's that going?
We're good partners with the Island Home in terms of taking care of, their patients or our patients, just as anybody on this island is potentially our patient. So we collaborate with the Island Home, and my colleague Dr. Pearl sees patients there, as do all the docs, and so we think of them as our collaborators in healthcare on the island.
But wouldn't it be more efficient to pull the two operations into one location?
Ooh, interesting thought, Whitey. You must be thinking of what the Vineyard did, where they...
Well, I don't know anything about the Vineyard. Okay. That's another island.
Okay, that's true. But they have... they've recently built a new hospital. They opened a year ago last June, and so they may have something to teach us occasionally. Yeah. And one of the things they did was to co-locate their new hospital and their nursing home, and it certainly did result in some economies of overhead. You know, one kitchen, one maintenance team, one environmental services team, shared staff, LPNs, and others. So, you know, every community needs to make its best choices for itself, but it's certainly an interesting question.
What about Romney Care? What is it? How is it impacting you on the island? And tell me a little bit about it.
You know, what I'll say, just to summarize it, is that I'm not going to speak to the politics of it.
Good.
What I care about is the ability to keep our doors open and deliver quality care.
Yeah.
And the Medicaid and state health products that are required and made available to members of the Commonwealth do not pay us as much on the dollar as, say, the Blue Cross Blue Shields. And others of the healthcare, but they pay us more than nothing, and that's a good thing.
But it still pulls your economics down.
We are constantly trying. You know, the reimbursement is like this or flat, and the costs of medicine are going like this.
Yes.
So, you know, that gap.
How do you make that up?
Exactly. How do you make that up? And, you know, how do you make up the fact that it costs 15% more to do almost anything on this island, shall we say?
Than off island.
Than off island, and those economics are stringent off island. There's no code I can put on any patient's bill that says Nantucket factor. We just have to work smarter, and we have to trust that we can be in relationship with the community in a way that they will see that the sophisticated life that we love in Nantucket could not be without a hospital.
True, but still, you've got to pay the piper.
We do. We have to pay the piper.
That's right.
So we have to, well, we've cut expenses, for example, by $3.5 million over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
We've done some tough things. We've closed some programs that were hard for us to do.
And Meals on Wheels.
Yep, Meals on Wheels, and our own visiting nurses, for example.
That's right.
Facilitating visiting nurses from the Vineyard, setting up Nantucket VNA.
Yeah.
These were hard things,
yeah.
But Nantucketers have made hard decisions before to survive, and we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, you can't just live off of deer and scallops. Anyway, well, thank you very much. It's been great, and I'd love to get you back once this progresses a little further.
Thanks, Whitey. I would love that.
Thank you, Margaret.